Welcome back, everyone. Ever feel like you're just scratching the surface of what's really going on? Well, today we're going deep, really deep, into the art of insightful conversations.
And we've got the perfect guide for this little journey. Due diligence detective Allan Smithee.
Right. This guy is like the king of uncovering hidden information, and he's sharing some seriously valuable tips. 35, in fact.
35 tips for extracting valuable intel during interviews. Think of it as a masterclass in understanding what makes people tick.
And using that to unlock deeper, more insightful conversations, from high-stakes negotiations to just, chatting with your neighbor. This stuff is pure gold.
Absolutely. And the best part is it's not about trickery or manipulation. It's about,
It's about being a more perceptive communicator.
Exactly. So, are you ready to dive into some of Smithee's most intriguing tips?
Let's do it. Tip #1 completely hooked me. It's so simple, yet so profound. People, and I mean everyone, love to show off their knowledge.
Oh, absolutely. It's like that warm, fuzzy feeling you get when someone genuinely wants to hear what you know. It's incredibly powerful, and Smithee really taps into that.
He even suggests, and this is where it gets interesting, playing a little dumb. Not clueless, obviously, but just enough to encourage the other person to,
step into that expert role.
Exactly. It's like you're giving them permission to shine, and they open right up.
And that ties in nicely with tip #5. Don't be afraid to offer a compliment or two, a little flattery, when it's genuine, of course.
Can go a long way.
It greases the conversational wheels, makes it easier for information to flow.
So true. Okay, so we've buttered them up, made them feel like $1 million. Now what?
Now we bring in tip #6. Master the art of the open-ended question.
Ah, yes. Instead of those closed yes or no questions that can feel like an interrogation.
You hit them with open-ended questions that invite them to tell their story.
And that's when the real magic happens, right?
Yeah.
When they start to elaborate, you never know what gems they'll unearth.
Speaking of unearthing gems, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, there's something really important to remember about these first few tips.
Oh, absolutely. You can't just, use them in isolation, can you?
Exactly. They work best when you weave them together, create a sort of conversational symphony. Think of it like building a house.
Okay. I like where this is going.
You need that solid foundation of rapport, that foundation of flattery tips 1 and 5. Then you can start framing the walls with those open-ended questions from tip #6.
A conversational house.
Yeah.
I love that analogy. But I have to ask, what happens when we want to get a little more, shall we say, strategic?
This is where elicitation comes in.
Elicitation. Sounds a little, I don't know.
A little cloak and dagger, right? But I promise it's not as nefarious as it sounds.
Okay, because I was about to get my secret decoder ring out.
It's more about finesse than force, guiding the conversation in a way that encourages the other person to,
Spill tea.
Exactly. And they don't even realize they're doing it.
Okay, color me intrigued.
Think of it like this. You're not demanding information. You're setting the stage for it to just emerge organically.
So we're talking about being like conversational gardeners.
Precisely. You plant the seeds, you nurture the environment, and then
boom, we get the information we were after.
And one of Smithee's most effective techniques for this is, are you ready for it? Feigned disbelief.
Feigned disbelief. Okay, that sounds risky.
It can be, but trust me, when done well, it's pure magic.
Okay, I need an example because I'm picturing some seriously awkward silences.
Picture this. Someone's telling you about a project, right? And they say something like, it's going to be huge, the biggest launch we've ever done. And you, with just the right amount of surprise.
You're not buying it.
Not completely, no. You might say something like, really? Even bigger than mention a previous major launch.
So you're not directly challenging them.
No, but you're introducing that element of doubt, just a sliver.
And that makes them want to.
Prove themselves. And how do they do that? By offering up details, justifications, all the juicy bits they might not have shared otherwise.
I see. It's like they're so busy building their case
that they don't even realize they're handing you the keys to the kingdom.
Wow. Okay, but I'm sensing a however coming.
However, and this is crucial, this technique requires a delicate touch.
Right, we don't want to come across as though we're challenging them to a duel.
Exactly. It's about finding that sweet spot between curiosity and skepticism. Make them feel
like they're the expert and we're eager students.
Precisely. And speaking of being a good student, or in this case, a good conversational partner, tip #13 is all about reciprocity.
Reciprocity. Okay, so we're talking about give and take.
Exactly. Smithee calls it quid pro quo, but it's really just about being a decent human being.
You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
In a nutshell, yes. It's about recognizing that a conversation shouldn't be one-sided.
It can't just be about us extracting information, right?
Exactly. We need to be willing to offer something in return.
So share a relevant anecdote, maybe a personal experience, or even just,
A thought-provoking question. Anything that shows the other person that we're not just there to pick their brain.
we're there to connect, to build rapport.
And when people feel seen and heard, when they feel like their contributions are valued,
They're much more likely to open up and share their insights.
it's like that old saying, be interested to be interesting.
So true. Okay, I'm loving these psychological insights, but do you think we can maybe get a little more tactical?
Tactical, you say? Well, you're in luck because Smithee has a technique for that too. He calls it bracketing. And it's pure gold when it comes to extracting specific information.
Bracketing. Okay, tell me more.
Imagine you're trying to pin down a number, right? Like, let's say a company's budget for a particular project.
It's like pulling teeth sometimes.
Instead of asking directly, which can feel confrontational, you could say something like, so is the budget for this closer to $10,000 or $100,000?
Okay, so you're giving them options, a range to work with.
Exactly. It feels less invasive, less like an interrogation. And people are often more comfortable choosing between options than providing a specific figure up front.
It's like dipping our toes in the water instead of doing a cannonball.
And once they've chosen a side, let's say they go with closer to $100,000, you can start narrowing down the range.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So you'd ask.
Closer to $80,000 or $100,000, and you just keep refining the range with each question. Like
a game of conversational battleship.
Exactly. It's subtle, it's strategic, and it's surprisingly effective.
I love it. Okay, this is pure gold. We've covered flattery, open-ended questions, elicitation, reciprocity, bracketing. I feel like my brain is full. In a good way. But wait, there's more, right? We're only on, tip number 8?
Oh, we've barely scratched the surface. Smithee's got a whole arsenal of techniques up his sleeve. But before we completely blow your mind...
My brain's already starting to feel a little overloaded, to be honest.
Well, let's shift gears just a tad for this next one. It ties back to something we mentioned earlier, listening. But really listening.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I thought we were already deep in listening territory.
We are, but this is next level listening. It's about tuning in to those subtle cues, those little slips of the tongue that can reveal volumes.
Ooh, you're talking about reading between the lines, getting those subconscious tells.
In a way, yes. Specifically, Smithee talks about listening for what he calls hedges.
Hedges, like, I'm pretty sure, or we believe, that kind of thing.
Bingo. Those little qualifiers are often a dead giveaway that someone's holding back, maybe even subconsciously.
So they're like little red flags waving, saying, hey, there's more to this story.
Exactly. They're breadcrumbs leading you to the good stuff.
Okay, so how do we use these hedges to our advantage? Do we call them out directly, or...?
No. Remember, subtlety is key with all of Smithee's techniques. You don't want to put them on the defensive.
Right. Got to keep those conversational vibes flowing.
Exactly. So let's say someone says, we're pretty sure that product is still in development. Instead of pouncing on it,
we play it cool.
Cooler than a cucumber. You might say something like, oh, interesting. What are some of the factors that might influence the timeline?
So you're acknowledging the hedge, that pretty sure, without making a big deal out of it.
You're expressing curiosity, not skepticism. And that often opens the door for them to elaborate, to give you more context, more insight.
Wow. It's like we're peeling back the layers of the conversation onion.
I like that. And as you peel back those layers, who knows what you might find?
This is mind-blowing stuff. Okay, we've covered so much ground today. Flattery, open-ended questions, elicitation, reciprocity, bracketing, listening for hedges, and we haven't even touched on all 35 of Smithee's tips.
And we won't, not today anyway. This is a deep dive, not a crash course.
Exactly. But even with just a handful of these techniques, I feel like I can navigate conversations with so much more awareness, so much more intention.
That's the beauty of Smithee's approach. It empowers you to take control of the conversation, not in a manipulative way, but in a way that allows for deeper connection and understanding.
So well said. This deep dive into Allan Smithee's world has been eye-opening, to say the least. And you know what? I have a feeling this is just the beginning of our exploration.
Oh, absolutely. There's always more to learn, more to uncover.
That's the beauty of it, right? Every conversation is an opportunity for discovery. So until next time, remember, the key to unlocking those insightful conversations might just be hidden in plain sight. You just have to know where to look.
And listen. Don't forget to listen.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy conversing.
Happy conversing.